Good evening. Today is March 20th, Friday night, and I'm going to lower the music on this. So I don't know why it's a little bit choppy. It's unfortunate. Maybe so many people are home. That could be affecting bandwidth. I don't know exactly. It could be just the way I got things set up at the moment. And I almost want to start it over because I don't like that. I'd rather almost be looking at a static screen than it's not being very fluid. But I want to get right into it. I'm fairly tired today, and I think I'll just get right into a couple things here. Let me turn this down even further. So it's basically just some ambient music, you know. I'm a scuba diver myself. It's been a long time since I've dove in waters like this. It's beautiful. Wonderful creation. I used to have clownfish, tomato clown, and sea anemone at a saltwater aquarium a long time ago. I was a teenager. Well, just like that, almost. I think the tomato clown only had one white stripe, though. So I'm going to read something. It's not a devotion that's necessarily designated for March 20th, but I found one that I wanted to read. And then we'll read Psalm 91, and I want to talk about the last couple of verses. And that'll close out sort of this meditation on Psalm 91 through the words of Charles Spurgeon. Now there's more. There's more to talk about. In fact, I may stay on it a while. I was out and about today a lot, and I just saw some people. I saw a girl wearing 2 sets of rubber gloves and gooping on hand sanitizer on top of that, rubbing her gloved hands vigorously. I said to her, in a respectful way, I basically said, look, I'd rather have your dirty hands touching stuff than have your hands with all these chemicals on it. Do you even know how the sanitizer reacts to that latex or silicone in these gloves, and what the byproducts are? She said, no. Do you? I said, no. Exactly. We don't know what kind of reaction, what are the chemicals in this goop. It wasn't made to be put on top of gloves. It was made for skin. That doesn't make it any better in my mind, even if it is quote-unquote approved. But it does beg the question, what kind of reaction do these chemicals have on the whatever kind of gloves she was wearing, vinyl, latex, whatever they were. Anyway, the point being is that there's just so much fear out there of this boogeyman. And right now it's a boogeyman. That's all it is. There's the boogeyman's going to get you. Be careful. Boogeyman might get you. That's what we're hearing. If you've ever seen the movie They Live, the guy puts on the glasses and he sees what's really being conveyed. And he sees who the real monsters are. He sees through the lies. And we need to have that mindset, that we're being bombarded all the time, every single day in, day out, with the type of mind control of one fashion or another. And we need to be able to discern what is the real message. Be careful, the boogeyman is going to get you. Who can save us from the boogeyman? Try to save yourselves by listening to us. We'll tell you how to save yourself. So who's really saving you? Well, my friends, my Savior is the Creator, my Maker, the Creator. who is an ever-present help in times of trouble, the Bible say. So from Matthew 26, verse 39, speaking of Christ, it says, "And he went a little farther and fell on his face and prayed." I think this must be when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane. There are several instructive features in our Savior's prayer in his hour of trial. Yeah, that's when it was. This was when he went to the Garden of Gethsemane. It was a lonely prayer. He withdrew even from his 3 favored disciples. Believer, be much in solitary prayer, especially in times of trial. Now I'm gonna interject here and there. We are in a time of trial. You are, perhaps you're laid off from work. Perhaps you're in business for yourself, and now you don't have any, like maybe you're a musician. All your gigs are dried up. You don't have any income. Perhaps you do some other kind of service. You have your own independent business, and you don't have, now you're not sure how you're going to make it in a few weeks, maybe sooner, or a month. Maybe you can go longer. Maybe you've got family and friends that can help you, but you know it can't last forever, and you don't know when the end is in sight. And even if all of a sudden this changed, this is like an engine stalling in mid-flight and in the middle of a nosedive. Can you get it restarted? What's that going to look like? This is an hour of trial. Are you praying? Do you believe in prayer? Do you have faith in prayer? I know that there are many times that I'm prayerless. It's a sin, really, to be so prayerless. I do pray, but there's times I've been more of a prayer than other times. There's times when prayer seems like it's futile. What good is it? Oh, faithless one, let's renew your faith. Let's build your faith up. Have faith in your prayers. As I said last night, we have faith to pick up our cell phone, send a text, and magically it's somewhere else. It appears. And man created that. How much, as you look at the wonder of all the different spheres where life exists, teeming at the bottom of the ocean, amidst the cauldrons of the earth, that you've seen the video, haven't you, of the heated water coming out of the depths of the earth across lava, volcanic rock, yet there's still life that's teeming there. There's life here on the coral reef in a special kind of balance and symbiotic relationships and a beauty that for millennia mostly has lain unviewed, unenjoyed. That's a domino damsel, by the way. I had one of those. There's your clown tomato fish. I had one of those. Tomato clown, those are called. Domino damsel. Anyway, look at all this hidden beauty that was kept back, unseen, yet someone, the great one, the master, designed it all. Those are his brushstrokes on that tomato clown and on that domino damsel. That's his geometry and his math that makes it all work. Man creates a cell phone towers, and we have total faith that our message gets to its destination. Here we have Christ in his hour of trial. After everything he'd done, the miracles he'd done, the miracles thousands witnessed, hundreds of people, thousands of people experienced the miracle of the loaves and the fishes, the healing of the blind, the raising of the dead, speaking truth to power and watching them cower in the temple. And here he was, and what did he do? He went to pray. Let's follow his example and do some of our own praying. Pray before you go to bed. Pray when you get up in the morning. Pray when you're starting to waver in your faith or when you're starting to worry. So moving on, family prayer, social prayer, prayer in the church will not suffice. These are very precious, but the best beaten spice will smoke in your censer in your private devotions, where no ear hears but God's. I'll read that one more time. Believer, be much in solitary prayer, especially in times of trial. Family prayer, social prayer, prayer in the church will not suffice. These are very precious, but the best beaten spice will smoke in your censer in your private devotions, where no ear hears but God's. It was humble prayer. Luke says he knelt, but another evangelist says he fell on his face. Where then must be thy place, thou humble servant of the great master? What dust and ashes should cover your head? Humility gives us good foothold in prayer. There is no hope of prevalence with God, of prevailing with God, unless we abase ourselves that he might exalt us in due time. Don't you almost instinctively, when you pray to God, just bow your head? Have you ever gotten on your knees to pray, beside your bed, beside a footstool or in front of a chair? Have you ever fell on your face, laid on the ground, face down, crying God out for him to heal you, for him to deliver you from this abusive relationship, for him to help you find a job, for him to heal your mother or your father, for him to take your guilt away for having an abortion or anything? He fell on his face. He bowed himself down as a man and prayed to the Father, right? Moving on. It was a filial prayer, quote unquote, Abba, Father. You will find it a stronghold in the day of trial to plead your adoption. It means you. We've been grafted in through Christ, adopted, right? You have no rights as a subject. You have forfeited them by your treason. Nothing can forfeit a child's right to a father's protection. Think about that. Don't you know the father and mother who does everything they can for their child, no matter the crimes they've committed, the way they've mistreated them? We've all known or seen or witnessed those relationships where a child so undeserving of their mother or father's continued faithfulness and protection and provision and nurturing and care and encouragement and receptiveness to them, visitation to them, no matter what they've done. That's the rights we have, or I shouldn't say rights. That's the privilege we have, being adopted through Christ to be children of the Most High God. Be not afraid to say, quote, my Father, hear my cry. Pray that tonight, Hear my cry. In this fear-mongering and pandemic, cleanse us through it. Don't let up until, as personally and as a nation, we greatly change. We renew our faith. After 9/11, there was a resurgence back into church, if you will. Now, I'm not saying that's the place to go. That's another topic, right? But meaning churchianity, okay, the way it is today. But many people, it snapped them out of a stupor, a worldly stupor, an intoxication with all things of the flesh, all the things that concern our lives, to think beyond that it could be gone and changed in a moment. Just like right now, it seems but yesterday we weren't dealing with this. The grocery store shelves weren't going empty. We weren't hearing about mayors saying that you can't leave your homes except for certain emergencies. Oh, we're not going to fine or arrest yet. It was just in the in a year's time, it was like moments ago, right? It just happened. Moving on. Observe that it was a persevering prayer. He prayed 3 times. Cease not until you prevail. Be as the importunate widow, whose continual coming earned what her first supplication could not win. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. Now that's something that, there's many things I've prayed over and over throughout my life. And perhaps I've never once prayed with the faith that I need to have and the believing that I'm receiving that I need to have. And that's the work that maybe God is still doing in me, because I know that there's many times I pray, but I don't persevere in prayer. And we think, well, why should we have to beg and beg and beg God? Yet he does tell us that because of the woman who was banging on the door, the man got up finally and gave her what she wanted so he'd leave her alone. Well, is God stingy and obstinate and that kind of thing? Or is the reason he doesn't answer immediately because he wants us to truly seek him? He wants us to pray until the anxiety is gone, till we know and feel in our hearts he's heard us, knowing he's heard us, and that being the prayer of faith. I don't know. I don't know how it all works. All I know is that there is persevering prayer, and there are things that we won't get an answer to, or we won't see change until we persevere. And there may also be angelic battles going on to get the answer to us. Why is that so? I don't know. I don't know why the clownfish lives among the anemone without being stung. The evolutionist says he evolved that way. It just happens to be gloriously beautiful too. Look at that creature. Anyway. Continue in prayer and watch in the same with thanksgiving. Lastly, it was the prayer of resignation. Quote, nevertheless, not as I will, but as thou wilt. Unquote. The Lord said to the Father, if it be possible, take this cup from me, that I don't have to drink of this cup, the cup of bitterness, the sins of the world. He drank it to the very last dregs. The sins of the worst of the worst of the worst, not just in our modern Western society, in all of time. Of all the horrors you've ever witnessed, whether they've been portrayed in fiction, on a movie or a drama, or you've read about them in some macabre tale, or you've heard about them, of the tortures and the man's inhumanity to man, Christ came to the earth not to condemn the world, but to save sinners such as myself and you, my brother and my sister. And he prayed, knowing the trials he was going through. His life was hard. Think of the rejection he experienced, even from the betrayal, even of his own disciples, who walked with him and knew him so well he was betrayed. What a lonely man Christ was. He drank the cup of sorrows. And we're having a taste of some sorrows that we've all been witness to around the world for so long. Starvations, bloated bellies of children. And now we're worried, we won't have certain foods. We won't have it as convenient. We've got to maybe not eat to our heart's content all the time. Maybe we need to slow down, eat smaller portions. Maybe we'll be forced to fast a little, skip a meal. I don't know. I think it actually is a good thing if this isn't all over tomorrow or in a week. I don't know. I know that for myself, I'm thankful. I'm thankful for going through this because it snaps me out of some of my complacency. Snaps me out of some of my insecurity about who I am in this world as one of his own. It may not make sense to you what I mean. I don't know how to articulate it, or that I even should. But in my own life, I'm feeling that through these things that, the purification is good. It's perfecting. It's causing me to fill in my britches, who I am, fill in my shoes. All right, let's move on to Psalm 91. I'm really sorry that the video, if you're watching this, is a bit choppy. It's unfortunate. I didn't go back and check. The one I made last night, at first there was only it wasn't completely available, and hopefully as it processed, maybe more of it was. But I don't know. I'm not. Normally I make these videos and I'll put them on YouTube, but I've been trying to deal with live streaming because it sure would be nice to have interaction with people. The unfortunate thing is, even if there is someone watching right now, I'm not pulling up the chat because it also shows the video, and whether it's my computer or the stream. Well, I'll take a peek real quick, see if anybody's there. Yeah, I see one person. Thank you for being here. So I'm going to move on again now and the best way to do this, since it's not that long, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read Psalm 91. Just a moment. This thing will respond. Okay. And the chapter of this, or the psalm, is titled "My Refuge and My Fortress," which sums it up. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress. My God, in Him will I trust. Surely He shall deliver thee from the snare of the fowler and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover thee with His feathers, and under His wings shalt thou trust. And if you're new to watching this, I'll tell you that I don't really edit too much the stuffy language of it. Just roll with it, His truth shall be thy shield and buckler. Thou shalt not be afraid for the terror by night, nor the arrow that flieth by day, nor for the pestilence that walks in the darkness, nor for the destruction that wastes at noonday. 1,000 shall fall at thy side, and 10,000 at thy right hand, but it shall not come nigh thee. It won't come near you. Don't be afraid. Only with your eyes shall you behold and see the reward of the wicked, because you have made the Lord, which is my refuge, even the Most High, your habitation. There shall no evil befall thee, neither shall any plague come near your house. For He shall give His angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. For they shall bear thee up in their hands, lest thou dash thy foot against a stone. Thou shalt tread down upon the lion and the adder, the young lion and the dragon shall you trample under foot. Because He has set His love upon me, therefore will I deliver him, or her. I will set him on high, because he has known my name. Or she, right? And then the last two verses, because we did 11 through 14 last night, so that was pretty good. And I hope it was all. Hope it's all in the video. I got cut off. I don't know. It's unfortunate because it was really good. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him and honor him. I'm going to read it one more time. She shall call upon me, and I will answer her. I will be with her in trouble. I will deliver her and honor her. And this fits in with the devotion I just read about praying. With long life will I satisfy him and show him my salvation. With long life will I satisfy her and show her my salvation. All right. So we're looking at verses 14 and 16. 14 through 16, excuse me. Here we have the Lord himself speaking of his own chosen one. Because he or she, right, has set his love upon me, I will deliver him. Not because he deserves to be thus kept, but because with all his imperfections, he does love his God. Therefore, not the angels of God only, but the God of angels himself will come to his rescue in all perilous times and will effectually deliver him. Now, I can't go back and read this every single time and change it to him and her, but I want to know, if you're not a him, that it means you too. Hope that will suffice to say. Okay. When the heart is enamored of the Lord, all taken up with him, and intensely attached to him, the Lord will recognize the sacred flame and preserve the man who bears it in his bosom. In your heart, you know. It is love, love set upon God, which is the distinguishing mark of those whom the Lord secures from ill. And remember, when we're talking about this, you must think about the children of the Israelites that were in Egypt and the time of the Passover, when the Lord had them kill a lamb and smear the blood over the doorpost so that the angel of death would pass them over, and take every firstborn son of everyone in the land except those who had the blood upon the door. And that's a type and shadow of the blood of Christ that has redeemed us. And let's see. Okay. I will set him on high because he hath known my name. The man has known the attributes of God so as to trust in him, and then by experience has arrived at a yet deeper knowledge. This shall be regarded by the Lord as a pledge of his grace, and he will set the owner of it above danger or fear. It's a blessed thing, isn't it, to be not afraid? Even when all the world about us, they're losing their heads, and you're keeping yours. That's a wonderful thing. People look at you like you're crazy or you're foolish, you know? But the Lord may himself have delivered you from bondage to fear, not being foolish. And do you know the attributes of God? Is he Jehovah Rapha? Is he Jehovah Jireh? Is he the Lord your provider? Is he the Lord your healer? Is he the banner of love above you? Do you know the attributes of God? You know? The man who has known the attributes of God so as to trust in him has by experience arrived at a yet deeper knowledge, and this shall be regarded by the Lord as a pledge of his grace, and he will set the owner of it above danger or fear, where he shall dwell in peace and joy. None abide in intimate fellowship with God unless they possess a warm affection towards God and an intelligent trust in him. These grits of grace are precious in Jehovah's eyes. And I'm not a Jehovah Witness, by the way. That's because it's written here. That's his name is written as Jehovah. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. That's a whole different topic. They are precious in Jehovah's eyes, and wherefore he sees them, he smiles upon them. How elated is the standing which God gives to the believer. We ought to covet it right earnestly. If we climb on high, it may be dangerous, but if God sets us there, it is glorious. It's really good. It's a lot of nectar squeezed out of one verse, right? All right, the next one, verse 15. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. And that's why I read that about the prayer. You know, we need to call upon God now, these days, all the time, really. We ought to have communion with him and fellowship with him and all the time, but in these times of trial, all the more so, maybe even draw near to him, you know, like Christ did in the garden, and he made a special place and went and prayed especially during that trial. Okay. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. He will have need to pray. He will be led to pray aright, and the answer shall surely come. Saints are first called of God, and then they call upon God. Such calls as theirs always obtain answers. Not without prayer will the blessing come to the most favored, but by means of prayer they shall receive all good things. Quote, I will be with him in trouble, or I am with him in trouble, unquote. Heirs of heaven are conscious of a special divine presence in times of severe trial. Now, if you're watching this right now, are you aware of the Lord's presence in this times of trial? Have you counted your blessings that you've received in this time of trial? Be looking for them. God is always near in sympathy and in power to help his tried ones. Quote, I will deliver him and honor him, unquote. The man honors God and God honors him. Believers are not delivered or preserved in a way which lowers them and makes them feel themselves degraded. Far from it. The Lord's salvation bestows honor upon those it delivers. God first gives us conquering grace and then rewards us for it. Not sure I fully understand that. Let's move on to verse 16, the last one. Quote, with long life will I satisfy him, unquote. The man described in this psalm fills out the measure of his days. Whether he dies young or old, he is quite satisfied with life and is content to leave it. That's good. Do you love your life unto death? We're not to love our life unto death. We're to be of the mind that, if I live, may I live unto Christ. If I die, I'm going to be with him, or I am going to be with him. I'm going to be like it's all good. Death has lost its sting, We're not in bondage to the fear of death. And we can know that it's appointed unto a man once to die, and then the judgment, and that we have the judgment. The case is already settled. Christ has pled our case. We basically asked him to take our case, and he acquitted us through his son. The man described in this psalm fills out the measure of his days. Whether he dies young or old, he is quite satisfied with his life and is content to leave it. He shall rise from life's banquet as a man who has had enough. It would not have more even if he could. Ooh, that slays me. I'm not ready to die. There's a lot of things. First of all, a house is a mess. I wouldn't want anybody coming in here and having to clean up after me. Can you relate to that at all? But there's a lot of things I want to do. A lot of things I'd love to experience. I'd like to dive and see things like this again. I'd like to feel that weightlessness of neutral buoyancy. And if you didn't catch the beginning of this, I'm a diver. And it's been a long time since I've had the pleasure of seeing this kind of beauty. And as I'm saying this right now, there's a sea turtle. And I remember one time encountering a sea turtle about 130 feet deep almost. Can't stay down there that long without special oxygen, but he was there in a wreck all the way down there, just resting, holding his breath. Huge sea turtle. I don't know how big the one we just saw was, but it was. I wondered, how old are you? Here I was having this moment, the sea turtle. This is back in 2003, I think, off the coast of southern Florida. And I thought, how old are you? How old are you? I love turtles. I do. I'm a turtle rescuer. But moving on. He shall rise from the life's banquet as a man who has had enough and would not have more even if he could. There are many times where, and I've prayed, and if you can relate to this, great. If you ever prayed to have more patience and then you found yourself constantly being challenged with being patient, you know what I'm talking about. So I've prayed before, show me the depths of wickedness of this world. Make me know the reality of things, because I feel myself to be in a bit with cataracts over my eyes, sort of with life is too easy to go on, quote, as normal, or I'm too easily beset by sins because I just don't have that quickened sense of things, and or be able to stay in that mindset all the time, I mean, not being so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good, but just being really recognizing that in spite of the beauties and joys and pleasure of this world, the depth of wickedness that the whole world lies in. And more people are seeing it, it seems. I'm seeing an awareness growing, and I myself continue to grow. It's something I guess we can't come into all at once because it's too much for us to bear, And I have, and I'm saying that to say there have been times it's almost like, I'm never going to take my own life, but it's not mine to take. It was given to me, and I need to be a steward of it. And even that thought is not something I live in all the time. It's unfortunate. I treat my life like it's my own. I've treated my body like it's my own. And you might be saying, what do you mean? Of course it's your own. But it's a gift. And it's also the dwelling place of the Holy Spirit. And how I have polluted it in my life in many, many different ways. One moment. My software that I was reading out of, it closed. And it's not opening again. Well, I may not be able to read the last line of that. We were just about finished, except for a sentence, and that's okay. That's enough, So I've sometimes I've felt like, I wish I had everything in order, and I want to get my house in order, because sometimes I think I'm ready to rest. Even at my young age, I'm ready to rest sometimes, and I'm having more and more of a profound respect for much older people, because I'm talking people 30, 40 years older than I am now. They're really, and when especially when they're enjoying life, they've lived and seen so much, and somehow they've learned to recognize that is the way it is, and they get on with what they can get on with, and there's times, though, I take on, I guess, the weight of the world, and that's not for me to do. It's, as it said, even Jesus didn't save them all, if you ever heard that expression. And I can't save the world, and I can't get everyone to see things the way I'm seeing things, or be aware of things that I've thankfully been aware of, They have to come to it their own way, I guess, or maybe they're not to come to it at all. And you just get tired sometimes. You get world-worn. You get tired of the problems and burdens that you carry. And, therein lies the rub. It's like, are you carrying burdens you shouldn't carry? And I am tremendously, I've been tremendously bent towards that in my life, to where I carry burdens for other people and of my own that, my own device. I imagine I need to be figuring these things out, or understanding this or that, and knowing this or that. And I don't need to. I need to trust the Lord. So I hope that you think about Psalm 91 on your own. I hope that you say your prayers before you go to bed tonight, and rest and sleep well, and knowing that He's got the whole world in His hands. He's got you and me, brother, in His hands, and He's got you and me, sister, in His hands. Make a great evening. Thanks for coming by.